Welcome along to the show. Swift little subscriber requested video here from my little buddy Jared. He asked me to do, quite a while ago now, a video on a list of my favourite TV shows. Now, this is going to be an epic list because there are so many shows that I have got deep love for. First off the bat, if you check up there behind my head, you've got Star Trek. Like, pretty much all of them are up there. All the classic shows, the original series, the animated series, you know, everything. Next Generation, Voyager, DS9, they're all up there. Enterprise, and there's even a few seasons of Discovery up there right now. So, and the mood for collecting everything now. For somebody that's such a big lover of Star Trek, why the heck is there no talk about it on this channel? There is a dedicated podcast I have for science fiction in general. Skin Me Up Body, it's called. So check out the website Coins Age Media. You'll find it through that there, your favourite podcast provider. I'll stick a little photograph up in the corner here of the cover for the podcast. You can go and check that out. So that's a start. We've got all the Star Treks, old and new. Big lover of the older stuff over the new stuff, in all fairness. Doctor Who, in a major way, got a lot of time for that. I remember everybody nowadays is more or less remembers the Christopher Eccleston coming back. A lot of people call it a reboot. I think of it more of a continuation, because it's as pretty much just takes off where the old one left off, essentially. I remember, I am old enough, ancient, absolutely ancient, getting so old right now. It seemed like a lifetime since Doctor Who was on. I actually remember watching the Sylvester McCoy series when it was aired on television back in the 80s. So, old guy. So I was excited to see it coming back. Loved Christopher Eccleston as a Doctor. By far my favourite Doctor of all time is David Tennant. So, loving all that sort of stuff. The classic series has now been shown on TV right now. Forgive me, I'm trying to remember. Forces TV, they're actually showing episodes of the classic series on there. So I've been watching that with my brother. He has a big influence on the types of shows that I really, really adore. He's into the classic stuff, 10 years older than me. He got me into these shows that they're repeating on Forces TV here in the UK, and of course I had to get myself signed up to what is the name of that app? I really should have had this before I started into this video. BritBox TV. Downloaded that app. It's got all the classic episodes of Doctor Who, so I've actually went right back to the very beginning and started watching from the old black and white ones. They are bloody brilliant. Love them. In all fairness, when Tennant left, I kind of started to slip out of it. I wasn't a big fan of the Doctors that have come after him, but the high point for me in this new run of Doctor Who was David Tennant. So I like to, you know, visit that once in a while. Let me see what else is on my mind here. I'm just going off the top of my head here. Like, this could be such a long video, but I'm going to make it as quick as I can. Knight Rider. Kid of the 80s. I was born in 1979, so I was not too big whenever Knight Rider was first there, the original with David Hasselhoff. Loved that show. We had a slew of similar sorts of shows where there'd be a vehicle involved in it. So Airwolf is another one. Fantastic. Apart from the last season of it, they're all great up until the Canadians bought it over. I've got a lot of love for Canadian TV, but the final season of Airwolf was bought off from the company that owned it, and they did their own version of it, and it was never to the same extent of the series leading up into that there. I do believe there was 3 seasons off the top of my head, and then there was that 4th season, and the 4th season was literally a dirt budget. They were just reusing visual effects and the helicopter from the previous 3 series. So yes, it was definitely a low point for Airwolf, but that's watchable. But those first 3 seasons are absolutely fantastic. The A-Team, to continue with the 80s, that show is so much better than a lot of people give it credit for, looking back on it. I think cheesy, but it has to be said, guys, cheese sells, and the A-Team was absolute beautiful. What else was there back in the 80s that I enjoyed watching, especially as a kid? There was a season of a show called Street Hawk. That was about similar to Knight Rider in the fact that there was, instead of a car this time, it was a motorbike, more of a scrambler, but it was one of these top secret projects where there was this prototype for this super bike that they were hopefully intending to, every police force would end up having one of these on standby. So the whole series was the guy that designed the bike and the test pilot, essentially, who he recruited to test Street Hawk. So this guy was living like a double life as police officer during the day and Street Hawk at night. Fantastic show, only lasted for 1 season, but absolutely fantastic. I would highly recommend you checking that out. Continuing on from that, the Dukes of Hazzard. Come on, guys, absolutely fantastic. I know the show gets a lot of grief these days for the flag on the car, but the show, the thing I don't get about it is the Dukes of Hazzard movie can be shown on TV. No one has a problem with that. But as far as the TV show goes, everybody has a problem with it. But it was all good, clean family fun. You couldn't get a better show for the family to sit down and watch. It's just the height of nonsense over this flag. I'm running sort of short and stuff here. Another thing that I'm currently watching from my brother, just as I said, he is 10 years older than me, introducing me to a lot of classic stuff, and like the majority of these shows I'm talking about here, most of them have been aired and over and done with a long time ago, along with these two. Chips, I think I've a video dedicated to that on this channel, and the Rockford Files. That was a detective show, and it was like a drama more than anything else, but there was a lot of comedy through and through it, some great one-liners in there, some fantastic storytelling in it, and James Garner was in that, the old guy from The Notebook. He was in it as Jim Rockford, private investigator. Absolutely fantastic show. I'm just looking about here to see if there's anything else. Of course, you all know, if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, I am big into the cartoons and stuff. So Transformers, He-Man, the Masters of the Universe, absolutely fantastic. There's a little hidden gem that I will be getting into on the reviews and the cartoon side of things. This little gem right here, Ulysses 31, kind of a show that has been lost to time, but absolutely fantastic. It's kind of based around what way would you describe this show? It's like Ulysses, main character, it's based upon like the classic story, the Odyssey, but it's set in space. So think of the Odyssey crossed with a little bit of Star Trek with just a little smidge of Star Wars in there. So it's good. It says here 3 complete volumes in here. So it's, I actually thought the show run for a lot longer than that there. It's one of these weird shows from the 80s, and it's so strange with the way things are set up now, particularly on YouTube, where if you review something out there, you're kind of legally bound now to mark it as made for kids, all for the protection of children online. I'm all on for that, 100%, no problem with it whatsoever. That show in particular, Ulysses 31, I could recall something from a show that I had seen whenever I was a small kid, and it was a sequence and it was freaky. Like for years I thought I had actually dreamed it up. I couldn't place it. I didn't know where I'd seen it at. This show was aired. By the way, just whenever I'm on that, I literally get distracted with this latest little thing when I'm talking about this. I bought this box set probably about 11 years ago at this point, an HMV, and it had this big sticker on it, never before seen in the UK. And that was the same with the Takara collection of the Headmasters, the Transformers Takara collection. Both those box sets, bought them, never before seen in the UK exclusive, whatever it was. And I was like, yes, dead on, I'm going to take these home with me now. I do recall Transformers Headmasters been shown on television when I was a kid, sitting watching it. I'm like, I remember this stuff. They lied to me. Just like Ulysses 31, never before seen the UK exclusive, sitting through watching that there, and I had totally forgotten most of the show, bar a few little elements of it. But this one sequence in an episode where it was a show about the Fates, and they're like at these like mad sewing machines, and there's all these lines of thread coming out of it, and then they're cutting it with scissors and whatnot, and the threads represent the lifespans of people, and it was all this. It was like a freaky nightmare scenario in the cartoon. Freaked me out for years, remembering this. Couldn't recall where I seen it at. Was in that cartoon. So it's weird that you have to class things as made for kids content, because some of the stuff in these early shows from the 80s was pretty diabolical in places. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head right now. That is just a few of the things that I've been playing about with and watching. There's a few comedies, in all fairness, that I've been, now that I've got BritBox TV, I've been going through a lot of stuff. There's an old Japanese show called Monkey. There's been a reboot of that in recent years, but the original one is actually pretty damn funny. That's good. I would highly recommend that. I haven't seen the second season of it, but I just realised literally yesterday that BritBox has season 2 on it. We had tracked down season 1 online on YouTube. Someone had them uploaded, so we were watching them a few years back, but the only copies of season 2 we could get was the original version. It wasn't the English dub that we needed, and there was no subtitles or anything in it, so we didn't watch it because we didn't understand what was going on. Delving into some shows now that could be a bit problematic, as the hierarchy of the the beige community, as Billy Connolly would say. A lot of shows got away with a lot of stuff back in the 70s and 80s. Don't get away with these days. There was a show that I remember being on when I was a kid. I remember sitting watching bits and pieces of it with my grandfather whenever he was alive. I was probably about 7 years old at the time, and it was a comedy show, British comedy show called Only When I Laugh, and it was set in a hospital. These 3 patients and the doctors that was attending them. Like a UK version of Scrubs, only a bit more close to the bone. So there's shows like that. There's one called, and this one would be like, I would never actually, I would be surprised if you would see this on TV these days. There's another one called It Ain't Half Hot Mum. Check that out. And there's another show that similar sort of style to that, and like the humour is sketchy, to say the very least. It's stuff that these days people would get offended at it, because it does toe that line between races, if you get my meaning. And there is some stuff in there that people these days, whenever they hear it, would be like, oh, we need to cancel this right away. But they don't give these shows the time to actually pay off what the shows were trying to do. Yes, they are hitting places that you kind of don't want to hear these days, but whenever the joke comes back on the character, this whole situation that's built up comes back on the character that started it, it's usually the race that was been put down actually ends up putting like the hierarchy down at the end of it. It's just people are too quick to jump to conclusions on a lot of these older shows. Fawlty Towers as another one. There was an episode of that, of course, cancelled more or less for they went a bit close to the Germans, and again, this is one of these ones where yes, it was hitting very sensitive subjects, but then it was turned around and the person that did it was made to look the fool at the end of it, and like he was like the ass for doing what he did on it. I think that's going to do it, guys. I'm just literally doing this off the top of my head. A lot of classic shows that I've been watching, and I might do one on more up-to-date shows, but for now we'll just leave it at that, because this video is a heck of a lot longer than I was expecting it to be. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. If you do know those shows, let me know below here. Now that I'm doing the outro, I'm actually remembering a hell of a lot more stuff, but we'll do that in another video at another time, all been well. Only Fools and Horses, can't go wrong with that. What else? I don't know, I could talk all night about this stuff. There is a lot of love for a lot of stuff from the 70s and 80s for me, and yes, that was like the golden era for me of classic comedies. Like I kind of feel that the newer stuff these days, yes, it is good, it is funny, comedies and shows and that there, but you know, there's a lot of stuff coming out now that just they're putting that much out now that I kind of feel that it's not hanging about long enough for people to get as attached to as we did back in the day. Like, you know, things weren't been made as quick back then, and you had to wait quite a long time for the next one. And yes, these days it just seems like there's show after show after show after show, and it's very, very difficult to keep up with everything these days. But it just, again, genuinely don't think that a lot of the stuff these days is going to hit that classic status of what it was back in the day. But you know, there's quite a few things there. Check them out if you want. If you do get offended at some of them, don't come crying to me. I've told you where I stand on it, and it is what it is. So guys, I'll talk to you in the next video.